Hey everyone, it's Andrew here. So just to let you know that on this episode, we have a very exciting giveaway. So to celebrate the fact that we've got Darlene Vogel on this episode and Back to the Future, we have found in our studio, we have found some of these amazing prints that James White, Signal Noise, who was on episode 11 of the show, designed for us as part of our Back to the Future themed studio launch party. So if you're listening and not watching, we've got these A3 prints. James designed this really cool, awesome kind of Nintendo Power Glove. It's printed on a beautiful stock, and it's got some foil on there as well. It's nice and shiny. It doesn't come in these frames. We will send it rolled up in the post to you, and we'll also include some other goodies. Now, to get your hands on one of these little beauties, all you have to do is head on over to Apple Podcasts and write us a review. And what we'll do is, if you then send us a message on Instagram just to let us know that you've done that, we will pick 10 people out randomly, and we will send you one of these posters and some goodies along with it. All right. So, I hope you enjoy today's episode. Speak soon. So, hey everyone, welcome to episode 17 of Just a Chat With. I'm Andrew Dobby. If this is your first listen, Just a Chat With is a podcast series where we talk about brand creativity with the world's best in class. In the last episode, we sat down with David Martin, who is the president and founder of Fantasy Interactive, with offices in New York, San Francisco, Miami, and London. David and his team have worked with some of the world's biggest brands, including Netflix, Google, Facebook, Huawei, and many more. David now also works in his creative capacity directly with CEOs at Alphabet, Tesla, and Huawei. He also told us about how he used to fly himself to work every day or ride a jet ski across San Francisco Bay. Anyway, there were some amazing insights from David and plenty of great stories about building his creative business. Before that, we had digital artist Ben Radcliffe, who told us about working on Shrek 2, Star Wars, The Clone Wars, The Martian, and loads more. If you're a big CG nerd like me, definitely go back and check that one out. We've also had Design Matters podcast host Debbie Millman, world-renowned designer Michael Wolff, and also brand author Marty Neumeier, Noah Klokek from Pixar, and loads more. Today, though, I'm very, very excited as we're here with none other than Darlene Vogel, who is the actress well known for her very first role as Spike, a member of Griff's hoverboard gang in the movie Back to the Future 2. Darlene got her start in New York City and has landed over 100 national commercials, including the Milk Does a Body Good campaign. Darlene has been acting for over 35 years and has done numerous guest stars and pilot work. She landed the series Pacific Blue in 1995, working on 88 episodes, playing Officer Chris Kelly. She also played Melanie McIver in the One Life to Live soap opera. Darlene has recently released 3 thriller movies, including The Spearhead Effect, Extracurricular Activities, and Day 13. She also had a few starring roles in movies made for a Lifetime television, including Smuggling in Suburbia, Dirty Teacher, and Walking the Halls. She also made guest appearances on Full House, Northern Exposure, Boy Meets World, and CSI. Currently living just 1 mile from the beach, lucky you, in sunny Santa Monica, California, with her 2 children, Owen and Audrey. Darlene is an avid dog rescuer with 3 dogs, 1 cat, and 3 bearded dragons. Welcome, Darlene. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
I'm intrigued about the bearded dragons now. You mentioned the dogs were off screen and the cats. Where are those?
I know. The bearded dragons are off in the backyard in a bearded dragon house.
Okay.
Which is and also a funny story because Animal Planet has a show called Animal Cribs, and they came to my house and built me this massive structure in the backyard for the bearded dragons. I mean, they are back there in cages, but it's also a she shed kind of for me. So I go back there with my computer, and I have my rowing machine in there. And so it's kind of for me, it's when those dragons go, it's like all mine.
Wow, that sounds awesome. So how have things been for you the last few weeks, the last couple of months? The world has seemed to have turned upside down a little bit in the last while.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I was in New York March 10th, and I unfortunately had to go to a funeral to one of my very dear friends, and I wasn't going to let COVID not let me go. So I went, and it was before New York even shut down and before we shut down. And, we were in crowded restaurants, and even at the funeral, I made sure that no one hugged or anything like that. And on the way home, I wore a mask. Like the next day was in everything shut down, and I flew home. The kids were here, and we just locked down. And it was basically kind of peaceful the way I look at it, because I am always rushing to bring to soccer games and practices and picking up from school and, just everything. So it was a moment for all of us just to chill and just reflect and just chill out, So that's basically what we've been doing those first couple months. But also I took the opportunity of doing some renovations on my house. So I was like, well, these guys aren't working. Let me employ them. So that's all I've been doing since March 15th, I have to say, is renovations on my house. So I told the guys to quiet a little bit for the next 45 minutes. But yeah.
I think that's the same everywhere. I've done the same. I've been working in my garden, but also I like you, I loved the chance to stop and reset. And someone said to me, it's much like Mother Nature has sent us all to our rooms for being naughty. And I think it's really nice, the same way as you said, getting time with your family, getting time to kind of stop and reset and think a little bit, isn't it?
Well, it's actually funny because with my kids, they just go right to their rooms, and one's on a game. He's playing FIFA and, all his video games. And my other daughter's like YouTubing, not YouTube. Well, yeah, YouTubing, and also like FaceTiming all her friends. So that's their social connection. And so I go, geez, this pandemic didn't bring us together. It brought us separate. Everyone's in the wrong room.
So you got time with your bearded dragons, is what you're saying.
I got time with the dragons. I got time with the dogs, with the cat, the whole thing. I was loving it. I was just loving it. Yeah.
Oh, great. And have you been able to work in any capacity, during this process, or how's that?
No, there hasn't. I mean, there's been a couple auditions here and there so now we have to self-tape. So everyone has to learn how to, we get a ring light, and we get the proper mics or a place to, to put the self-tape on and submit them and stuff. But I did one job. It was a print job for some skincare company. And it was very different. Everyone had their masks on and walk in the room, photographers like 6 feet away from me. And so it was kind of different, but I don't mind the mask. I'm like, wear a mask. I mean, at least we won't have a flu season if everyone wears a mask and washes their hands. So
yeah, it's quite an easy thing to do, isn't it? It's quite an easy thing if it's going to help. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been doing more of these. I've been doing interviews and some Zoom calls with people. So it's actually been okay. And work-wise for me, it's been slowing down the last year anyway, because as a woman gets older, we kind of get put out to pasture a little bit. And, the mom of a teenager, they want like 35 to 43. Okay. And I'm like, well, I'm way beyond that. So, but I just need to get older. I need to get like 70. So, yeah.
Is that where you need to get to get the next roles? Is it?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, because I'm kind of in a weird age right now. So, it's all good. I've had a really great career. I've had, I really have. I mean, out of all my friends that we all started together, I was the only one that stuck it out and still work. They're always like, "You're still working," and I'm like, "Yeah, I still am."
Yeah, and do you still love it? Do you still enjoy doing it, getting up and doing it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I really enjoy it when I have a lot of work to do on the show. Like if I'm doing these Lifetime movies, usually I'm the lead and I play the mom of a daughter who's dying, dead, or missing, or in trouble. And so that way I'm working every day and I'm working all day. So I hate sitting in a trailer for hours and waiting to go up. That's the one thing I can't stand about this the whole acting life is the weight.
Yeah, I
It
can
kills
imagine.
you.
Yeah.
Excuse me, yeah.
And so, like, I suppose going back to, when you began, your career, how did you get started? Did you always think that this is where you would end up and this is what you'd be doing?
No, well, it's funny, and I was young. I was like, when I was like 9, 10, 11, I used to be in the bathroom and take like shampoo bottles and anything I could get my hands on and read the back and then do a commercial in the mirror. It was so weird. And not knowing that that's what I was going to do one day. And I went to Fashion Institute of Technology in New York to do marketing and cosmetics and fragrances. And I actually ran out of money and I couldn't continue to go to college. And I just wanted to be in New York City. So it was an escape for me from Connecticut to go into New York. And I just loved that city. And there was a friend of mine on the floor, on my floor in my dorm, and he said, "Well, you want to try modeling?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll try anything right now." So he had a connection, and I got into modeling, doing like showroom work and fit model, trying on clothes all day long and trade shows and stuff. And then after that, I got a better agent and started doing catalog work and junior catalog work. And then after that, I ended up starting doing commercials. And then a manager, his name is Bob McGowan. He was Julia Roberts' manager at the time. He discovered me on a Crystal Light commercial. And he signed me on. And then like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to be an actress now. I mean,
was it challenging to get work, or was it easy? Was it, were you kind of hand to mouth, or was it, or did you find it much easier than that?
In New York in the 80s, it was very easy for me to get work. I booked, not acting wise yet, but because there wasn't a lot of shows in New York, there were soap operas, and I did little dabbles in that. And there was The Equalizer, which is what I was actually my first job. It was a very small role. And there wasn't much going on in New York as far as theatrically, but commercials were huge. And I booked all the time. Like my friend would say, "Oh God," when you came into the room, we were like, "All right, let's just go home." But I was the look back then. I don't know. And I would just book all these commercials, and it was a really, good living. It was great. And then I decided, I followed a boyfriend at the time out to LA, and I hated it at first, but I was going out for pilot seasons and I was testing. And then I would go back to New York because I didn't like LA, and then I'd come back again. And my first TV show I booked was Charles in Charge with Scott Baio. And I did a guest star on that. And so then I was like, okay, well, this is fun. So I kind of just stepped into it all. It was never my lifelong dream. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just did it. And I was very lucky. You got to be lucky in this life. You just have to be lucky. Yeah.
And was there anyone that you were aspiring to be, or was there anyone that mentored you and coached you and kind of took you under your wing?
No. I mean, I took acting classes. I hated scene study. I hated working with another actor in these scene studies. I hated going on stage and doing these things. I mean, I just hated acting classes. I really did. And I loved Meryl Streep, of course, but I know I'll never be a Meryl Streep. I mean, I was, there's certain actors out there that are just like Meryl Streep, and there's certain actors out there that just do their thing. And I really did a lot of comedy, in my 20s, a lot of comedy work. But as you get older, you're always cast in drama and you're always crying. So, I mean, like when I got older, all I was doing was crying all the time. So, and I'm good at that.
You cry on demand now? Are you? Yeah.
I can totally cry. I mean,
I feel like I should ask you to cry. I'll not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so for our listeners that are listening, you might be wondering how we ended up talking, and it's quite a funny story because I have a friend, Jack. He's called Jack Proctor, right? And I think he is one of the biggest Back to the Future fanboys ever, right? He's a friend of mine, and recently, a few months ago, we had a studio relaunch. So I run a branding studio called Made Brave, and we had a relaunch party, and we're big Back to the Future fans. So we themed the party Back to the Future. And Jack sent me a message, and I didn't know he was like the ultimate Back to the Future fan. And he said, I've got like loads of Back to the Future like props and memorabilia. Do you want to borrow some for the party? And as I said, yeah, I'd love to. So I said, why don't you come round to the studio next week and, come along? And he came and he brought your actual hoverboard. So one of the props that you had from the film.
Wow.
Yeah, he brought that. So he has that in his possession, and he had the kind of Nike shoes. He had Biff's bat. He had, he's got like so much, and we literally filled. And I was so scared because we had a party, and Scottish people like to drink a lot. And I had ropes around this stuff, and I was thinking, people are going to fall into this, and this is going to be a disaster. But
or they might take them and not realize that they're
exactly. And I think this, I can't remember exactly, but I think this hoverboard is now worth £30,000 or thereabouts now. So it's I'll need to send you a picture, but so. Yeah, I suppose so. So for those listening, one of your roles, you're known as Spike from Back to the Future 2. And I'm a huge Back to the Future fan. Jack's a really big Back to the Future fan.
Hi,
so
Jack.
he's delighted about this. So he sent me all sorts of questions. So how did that role come about, Darlene? How did you get involved there?
So I just happened to walk into my agent's office, and he was like, "Hey, Darlene, how young do you think you could play?" And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why. And he's like, well, just go in for this meeting. So I was like, okay. And they didn't tell us what it was. And I went in to meet the casting director, and I just sat across the table from her, and she was asking me all these questions. And she was asking me, because I had plays that I'd done some theater on my resume, which was really an acting class. It really wasn't real plays. Mm-hmm. And, because a lot of actors in the beginning lie on their resume because you have nothing to put on there. And so she was like, oh, who did you do Fool for Love with? And I just blanked. I was like, and I could have said anybody. I could have said any of my friends that were like Grant Show. I know Grant. Yeah. And I was like, Grant Show. But I couldn't think of anybody. I go, oh, God, I don't know. I can't remember his name. God, I'm blanking. But you have to always be prepared. And I was not prepared. I mean, I've never done this kind of interview before. So we just talked and stuff. And I don't even remember what she actually asked me. And then I left. And then I didn't hear anything. And I was like, okay. Then a month goes by. She brings me back in again. Mm-hmm. And I believe the second one was to meet Ricky and Jason. And then we just had to improv. Yeah. And they were like, oh, you just got to be tough. I'm tough. I mean, I might not look tough, but I mean, I could play tough like that. And and so we just like this, and we're just sparring, and we just have fun, Yeah. And then we walked out of there like, what was that? I mean, what are we doing? We have no idea. And then a month later is when we found out we had it, and it was supposed to be a 2-week job. Mm-hmm. And we show up, and we had to go practice on the hoverboards with the stunt people. We had to, I had to get fit for this prosthetic. I also, my eye is naturally half brown and half blue, kind of like a Siberian Husky. And they got the idea of putting the red contact in my eye. Say, hey, that would be a good idea to have Spike have different color eyes. So I had to wear this, get fitted for a contact. And then they had to take my fringe, my bangs, and bleach them really white. And, just a little bit of things here to do. And I still didn't know the enormity of this role at all. And I know I had one line, and that was. So
had you seen Back to the Future 1? Had you any idea of that, or?
I guess I did. I don't even remember. I mean, I was not. I wasn't like a huge fan, and I wasn't like, oh my God, it's Back to the Future, mm-hmm. Until we were on set and working with Michael and the crew and Tom, and we're just like, wow, this is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. This is like. This is going to be a huge movie, and it was my first movie, a blockbuster movie. And here I am being served like, surf and turf for lunch, and I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. And I thought all sets were like this. I thought, oh yeah, this is it. And Robert Zemeckis was so great, but Michael was so sweet, so down to earth. We used to, hang out in his trailer on Fridays and drink margaritas. And we hung out a
sounds
lot.
Really tough. Sounds like tough work, those Fridays.
Yeah, it was real tough work. I mean, this job lasted 2 months.
Mm-hmm. And you said it was planned for 2 weeks. What was the change that happened
we were
there?
booked for 2 weeks, and then they go, we need you another new week. We need you another week. We need you another week. And we sat around a lot because at the time they had that special effects camera that did the split vision to show Michael Young and this and that. You know, it was a big deal back then what they were doing. All this stuff in this movie was a big deal, all the special effects. We
was
didn't have
was the first time that effect had ever been done? Was that, that sort of,
I believe so. Yeah, it's the first time they ever used this camera. And so the lighting was a big deal because, they didn't know how to really light for this camera. I just remember all that sometimes it would take 4 hours to light a shot. And so we'd be sitting, that's what you're usually waiting around for is the lighting, because you want it to be so good. But, we'd be sitting around all day long and sometimes we didn't work until like 5 o'clock, the end of the day. But that's how Ricky and Jason and I got so close. We just had such a great time together.
Yeah, I suppose you're one of a very elite few of people in the world that can say that they've been on an actual hoverboard. So how did that affect? How did they make that effect? How was it filmed, shot? What was involved in that?
Well, we had harnesses around our waist, and that led up to wiring and onto a crane. And so when we were practicing, they'd lift us up and, swing us around. And that was the best part. I mean, we had so much fun on those hoverboards, and you had to make sure you had one wire in front, one wire behind you, and just stay steady and stuff. I mean, nothing was going to happen at that point, but yeah, I mean, that was the best part, but we didn't shoot that until month 2. The first month was all in the cafe. So it took 1 month for the cafe and the second month for the hoverboards. And when we got on the hoverboards, we were like, yeah, we're going on the hoverboards, and we just hang out with Tom and sing songs and just, and I used to hang out with all the background people too, and just all chat. When you're on a film set, you're just chatting with everybody and getting to know everybody. So so
have you seen Tom Wilson's? He's got some stand up, hasn't he? He does a great Back to the Future song. Have you ever seen the song that he does?
Oh, no.
Oh, it's good. It's probably as frustrating as this interview is going to be for you, that people constantly ask you the same questions, I would imagine, over and over. He's got a song about, kind of talks through how everyone's always asking him the same questions. I'll send you a link after this. And
I'll just see. Oh, yeah. Oh,
for anyone listening, we'll pop a link in the comments below when we actually post the episode as well.
I haven't seen Tom since, the premiere. I haven't seen him. So, he was out of the whole Back to the Future thing for a long time. He never wanted to do the signings, and he kind of wanted to get away from it all. But, for us, it's only been in the last 5 years that people are on us about doing all this stuff. I was like, where was everybody the last 25 years? All of a sudden we're like, people want to know what we are, because I mean, even my friends hardly even knew that I was even in this movie until they're like, wait a minute, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm going to France to do something for Back to the Future. I'm going here for Back to the Future. I'm like, the movie from 30 years ago? I'm like, yeah, the fans are incredible. They're just, it's so, I mean, we could get to that later about the fans, but if you want to go back to the movie, you want to do that?
Yeah, well, I think I'm happy to flow. It's I think it's so nice that there's a kind of a momentum with iconic films, isn't there? That they take time to build and build and build. And I think Back to the Future is one of those ones. Even if you watch it now, it feels like it just came out, doesn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I was watching, for the first time, the series Pacific Blue that I was on for 5 years. And I said, I'm going to watch that. I haven't watched it since it aired. And it just looks so old, And then my daughter walks in and she says, what are you watching? It's so old. Back to the Future. Yeah. There's so many things, especially, in the first two that, well, especially in Back to the Future 2, that actually did kind of come true. And even the whole thing with Biff, with, him playing when what is he, the mayor of the town, or he runs the Hill Valley and he looks like Donald Trump and everything's so chaotic. And I'm like, I mean, I know that was 2015, but
I know. I
It's
was
like
talking
it
to
is
a
now.
friend. It was like they actually predicted the future. It's like the car crash of everything going wrong, and him with the hair and the kind of
Yes, it's weird, and Biff's palace, his casino or whatever, it's all gold and everything. And Donald Trump, everything about him is gold and gaudy. And I'm just like, Bob Gale is a genius. I mean, he's just a genius, the things that he thought about. I mean, we don't have flying cars, but we do have kind of hoverboards.
we're getting there. Yeah, we've got like one wheels. I've got one of those one wheels. It's like one wheel in the middle. It's like a hoverboard, and the cars are coming.
They must be, exactly. And then the hoverboard. My kids has those hoverboards that you just. I mean, I'm not getting on one because I'll fall over, but they have those. But and even the cars that were in the movie. I mean, the DeLorean is timeless.
Oh, it's timeless now, isn't it? Yeah,
way ahead of its time. But I mean, it's just to have a DeLorean now would be even still look futuristic.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I suppose when you were in the film, did you get to keep any of the props? Did you have the foresight to hold on to anything?
Well, I had the life cycle that was in the cafe. I don't remember when they're in the cafe and there's a girl riding on the life cycle and Biff goes, keep pedaling. And and she's like this. Well, I got the life cycle and then I had it and I'm like, what am I going to do with this thing? Not realizing that you should always keep props.
Yeah.
And so I gave it to a friend of mine. She was like, oh, I'll take it. So just like a year ago, I think I said, oh my God, Regina, do you have that life cycle? She goes, oh no, I got rid of that a long time ago. I'm like,
oh, that was your pension. You just gave away your pension.
No, I was so stupid. I mean, I didn't think about stuff back then. I have nothing from that movie. I mean, I would even love to have my costume. I mean, I know people make cosplay people, and my niece actually made a replica of my costume. She wore it for Halloween. But I was like, I'm not that creative. So, but I mean, it's such a great costume by Joanna Johnson. She had such a great vision, with the bullets and the claws and the spike and the, just the boobs and, the Catholic little girl skirt with the, it just was so fun. I loved getting dressed in that outfit every day. I felt like so tough.
Yeah, and there's you see it in cosplay all the time. When you search your name online now, your images. There's thousands of people. Does it weird you out, or does it make you proud? What do you think when you see it?
I love it. Yeah, I'm always like, look at you. You look so awesome. I love it. I mean, I'm just like, that was me. I played that. I mean, I wish they'd come out with a Lego. I wanted them to come out with Legos of our characters because why wouldn't they? I mean. It's such an iconic.
I'm sure I've seen a Back to the Future Lego. I'm sure there is
a prototype, but they didn't actually come out with them.
There's definitely a Playmobil. I don't know if you get Playmobil in the States, but Playmobil, they recently launched little characters, little Back to the Future ones, and a little DeLorean.
Are we in it?
I need to check. I saw it on Facebook the other day. I saw it pop up and flash past me. But there's definitely a Playmobil, so you need to go check that out.
Oh yeah, because how cool would that be? Like the hoverboard gang, you fly them around. I mean, like I played with Barbies all my life until I was like 10, 11 or 12. And how fun would that be to have even little Barbie dolls of us? I don't understand why they do that. Yeah, because kids would love that. I mean, I've met so many kids that are fans of this movie, and so this from generation to generation, this movie will live. Because you have. Even the younger kids don't find it corny. They're like, this is the best movie ever. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I love that you love it.
Yeah, my son's 9. I think I sat him down when he was 6 or 7. I was like, okay, we're going to spend the whole day. We're doing Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going on to Terminator, Total Recall, all the classics.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was, well, the day that we shot my infamous Got No Scrote thing, I was like, finally, I am going to do my one line. And I don't know if you know this story because I've said it a few times that, we're ready to do it. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to speak finally. And I was so nervous. It's like my first movie. And so I could even hear it in my voice when I say that line that I was a little choked up. But, I walk up to Michael and I'm like, what's wrong, McFly? You got no scrote? and he happened to have one of those cafe ketchup bottles in his pants. And I'm like, the ketchup bottle, and I'm like, looking, because the crew knew, but I didn't. And so then I didn't break character because I didn't know if I could. Like, I was like, can I stop? Can I laugh? Can I do anything? I didn't know about blooper reels back then. And so I went through it, and then we were all laughing. I was like, oh yeah, you wish, Michael. Yeah, it was funny that he did that. It was really cute. I think that was just like to break the ice, you know, like helping along, because, he was just so kind that way. What's really funny is I did my first movie, but I was hired as a extra because I was a model back then. And so they hired all these models, was in Bright Lights, Big City. Mm-hmm. And Michael is in that movie with Kiefer Sutherland. And so it's funny because I said, Michael, I actually kind of worked with you already on Bright Lights, Big City. And I played Kiefer Sutherland's date, Inga, I think my name was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They upgraded me from extra to silent bit. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. But yeah, it was funny. My little 6 degrees of separation there, or 1 degree.
Oh, fantastic. And do you keep in touch with any of the other actors, actresses from the film? Or?
Oh, yeah. Ricky and I talk all the time. We're very close, and I love his wife, Tammy, and his kids. Actually set his daughter up with my friend's son. I mean, I kind of connected them because they're both artists, and they started following each other on Instagram, and now they're boyfriend and girlfriend of like 4 years. And he has two of my bearded dragon babies. And then Jason, he moved off to Singapore for a long time, and Hawaii, but now I think he's back in San Diego. So the first time I saw him was at the reunion that we had, 5 years ago, I guess that was. We had a big Back to the Future reunion thing. So I finally saw him then, and he's great to see. And no one else. Well, actually, what am I saying? So back in December, I was in New York, and I ran into Michael. I saw him walking out of one of my restaurants that I go to with his wife. And I noticed her first. I was like, oh, that looks like Michael's wife, Tracy. And then I went, oh, it's Michael. My friend's like, you have to say hi. And I'm like, oh, should I? She goes, you have to say hi. And I'm like, I don't know if he's going to remember me, So I walked out, and he was standing there, and I hate doing that. I don't walk up to celebrities. I don't walk up to people like that. But I said hi, and at first, Tracy's like, oh God, who's this coming up to? I'm like, hi. I said, hi, Tracy. Hi, Michael. I'm Darlene. I played Spike in Back to the Future. And they're like, oh my God, so. And so we were talking. I just said, I can't believe that after 30 something years, we're still promoting this movie. And it's been so great. And I went off to France, and she was like, France? How come we're not going to France? We're going to Pennsylvania. And so we were just talking a little bit. So it was so great to see him and say hello. And he was so kind, and she was kind as well. So I'm glad I took that moment.
I'm glad you did as well. I'm glad you did as well. He seems like a genuinely nice person, doesn't he? Michael, and you obviously know.
Absolutely, yeah. Both him and Tom. Tom was great to work with too. Everyone was. I mean, Bob Zemeckis was brilliant. I mean, it was just such a great experience for my first movie, for sure.
Yeah. So I was talking to my friend Neb. He's a magician, right? And strange name, Neb. I know it's kind of a nickname that's as a name. And he said when he was 8 years old, he saw Back to the Future, and he decided to make a hoverboard by nailing a pair of shoes to a skateboard without wheels. Now, what's the weirdest thing that's happened to you? You met lots of people. There must be some weird stories of fans or people that have just gone really far with this stuff.
You know what? It's funny, at these signings that I do, they come up with a lot of the, DeLoreans. They make their own little tiny little replicas of things. Nothing has been weird. I think it's, really, I mean, soap opera fans are a little weird, but Back to the Future fans are pretty cool. They came up, they're so inventive with all these things that they would come up with, and they make me pins and whatever, but no, there's nothing been weird. It's just been very creative and innovative, the things that they've had me sign, and even pinball machines, and just Yeah, great stuff. I mean,
They seem to be
posting
a good loyal tribe, the Back to the
loyal,
Future fans. Yeah.
loyal. Oh yeah, definitely loyal fans. Yeah, and they're so thankful. They're so they have such gratitude that like, oh my God, I grew up with you, and you were the first movie that I love. All this stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, thank you. Like, I
Yeah.
just feel. I was like, wow, this is great. There's nothing else to say about that. It's just how amazing it is, and that for this long of time that it just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. And the thing about it is it's been one part of your life, and you've done so many other roles. Is there a specific role that's been your favorite? There's something that if you could go back and do it again, that's the one you would pick, or?
Well, I mean, of course, Back to the Future was my, the biggest memory because it was my first film and it was such an iconic film, and I loved because she was tough and everything. But, of course, Pacific Blue, I played another tough character for. Hi.
Fan, you come to say hi. This is Darlene. She played Spike in Biff's Hoverboard Gang in Back to the Future.
Remember me?
Oh, you can't hear her because you're on my headphone.
Oh right.
You want to say hello?
Hi.
Hi. How's it going?
Good.
Are you in? Oh no, you're not in school right now because it's late there in England. My kids are in their rooms in school right now.
Oh.
Yeah, you just finished school. You're back from school. You're coming to get me to get dinner, I think, aren't you?
Into school?
I finished school 3 hours ago.
Were you in school or do you have school at home?
Oh, in school.
Yeah, they're back at school now, aren't you?
Oh, you're lucky. You get to hang out with your friends. We're not in school yet here in America. I'm in California. Are you going to come visit me someday?
You're going to go visit Darlene?
Mm-hmm. Wait, what was your hardest movie that you made?
The hardest movie I made? Let me see. Maybe it was Ski School because it was really freezing. I shot that on a glacier in Canada. So maybe that. But my favorite movie was Back to the Future 2. That was my favorite.
Back to the Future.
I got to fly on hoverboards.
She's got a hoverboard. She was on a hoverboard.
I was flying all over the town.
Wait, how did you get it to go in the air?
Well, so we had it's kind of magic though. We had a little magic going on, but I don't know if I really want to tell them how. I don't want to ruin the magic.
He's rolling his eyes there.
Do you really want to know?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah.
So we had a harness belt around our waist, and they were connected to very fine wires, like fishing wires, so you can't see them on camera. And they went up into a triangle, and then it was attached to a big crane. You know how cranes that you see on buildings that are building buildings, those big giant cranes? It was on a crane, and he just fly us around the town. And we fly. Yeah.
Isn't that fantastic?
Wait, what happened? How did you
I
get
love it. A future podcaster.
Exactly.
When you crashed into the big bank thing, what happened?
Okay, so here we go. We haven't come to that part yet.
Yeah.
So good question.
Good question.
So that was actually my stunt double. So first of all, I had a different stunt double named Lisa McCullough, and she backed out of the stunt because she didn't think it was perfected yet.
Okay.
So Cheryl Wheeler took over, and the crane was off just like a quarter inch. So when they were flying her around to fly her into the building, she was supposed to go through the glass and like the other characters did and fall on pads that were behind the glass. They were flying in, since she was off a little bit. She hit the pole, and you'll see it if you pause during really slow motion during that scene. You see how my character into the pole and she dropped. Well, because they released the wires, and the other guys fell inside onto the mat. But my character fell like 14 feet onto cement.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it kind of shows it, but it doesn't really show her fall in the cement. And that was the one and only take that they did of that. You know, in movies, you take hundreds of takes or, you know, dozens of takes to get, you know, it's not just one take when you see a scene in a movie. You see it over and over and over again. Well, they couldn't do it over again. So that one take, which is pretty, you know, iconic take, you know, because that was the one and only. And it was that take. And she had to have multiple surgeries after, but she ended up working again. And she's no longer with us, but something, whatever happened a year ago. But yeah, she ended up working, being a stunt double afterwards. But being a stunt person is really risky. It's very tough work, what these stunt doubles do. I mean, you got to give them a lot of credit. They take their lives, you know, I mean, a risk every single day.
Yeah. Will you say thank you to Darlene?
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, you're welcome. I didn't get your name. What's your name?
Oh, Finn.
Finn. Finn or Finn?
Fin. Finn.
Finn. Okay. Nice to meet you, Finn.
All right. We'll get you. I'll come down shortly.
Maybe in like 10 years from now, you'll be interviewing me again.
Wait, was there lots of cameras around you?
Right now, are there lots of cameras?
No, like when you were filming the movie. Oh.
Yeah, I think there are maybe 3 cameras. Usually when they are filming, there's a few cameras.
Yeah. Well, why don't we watch Back to the Future later tonight and we can watch Darlene on it? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Good idea. All right. He's got better questions than me.
Awesome.
I think we should leave him on here and just let you guys go for it.
My kids would never do that. Never in a million years. I have to pay them off to talk on camera.
It just shows you that he remembered that scene, and we've not watched the film for a while together.
That's brilliant. See, it
goes in there.
It does, because they're sponges. They remember.
Well, I think we should keep that in, because I think it's the nice part of all working from home, that we have families and we have kids. And I suppose that maybe brings us on nicely. You've got 2 kids. You've got Owen and Audrey. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, I do. And, you know, I told them, I go, look, I'm doing this podcast. If you walk in, just like, don't make a lot of noise or whatever. But they're used to it. They're so used to this stuff. But,
and do they follow in your footsteps, or any of them interested? No.
At all. Like when we did, I've taken them on a couple auditions, but my daughter Audrey is very shy and she's quiet at first until you get to know her, and then it's like you can't shut her up. And Owen is pretty good like that, but he's just not interested. You know, he's just like, I don't want to do it. I go, yeah, but it's gonna pay like a commercial. I said it's gonna pay like $1,500. He's like, I don't know. Like, what? So when we did the Animal Cribs episode, they had to be on it and they had to be interviewed, and they hated it, but they actually came off pretty well. I mean, they came off really well in the episode. So I was proud of them that they actually did that. But one time I had to pay Owen $50 to come home from school to be interviewed early, you know, and they ended up not even using him till like 5 o'clock. So he didn't even have to come home early.
Yeah. And is the Animal Cribs episode, is that online? Can we see that?
It's on Animal Planet. It's called Animal Cribs, and the episode is called Dragon Den.
Dragon Den.
And what's funny is if you watch all those, you know, home, you know, remodeling shows, you know, you see the reaction of somebody at the end, you know, and a lot of times, you know, they're like, oh, wow. My reaction, I mean, I get very excited about things. And my reaction was like, they said, that's the biggest reaction I think we've ever had in the history of our show. Because I did not watch them make what they were. I had all my blinds closed. I had everything closed off. I would never look at what they were making in my backyard. And when I saw it, I was in shock. I mean, and you could see it on the episode. I screamed. I was like, everyone's like, oh my God, you really gave them a reaction.
Oh, well, I'm definitely adding that to the watch list to go and check that out as well.
Yeah.
So I suppose kind of outside of the kind of film world, is there, you know, what do you like to do separately? I know you've got the animal stuff, looking after your pets, but, you know, what else makes you tick?
You know, a lot of things is the animal stuff, but I love decor. You know, like right now I've been working so much on my house, the landscaping in the front, and some of the kitchen and my bathroom. And I love furniture and rugs and just all kind of decor. So I'm always working on stuff like that. mainly I'm just kind of slowing down. It seems like it's so funny. I mean, I love travel. And, when I went to France last year, I was like, oh my God, I haven't traveled in so long. Because, when you have kids, your famous line is, well, I used to do that. Oh, I used to do that. I used to do that. And I used to do, hiking all the time and golf. I used to play golf all the time.
Yeah.
And now my kids are 12 and 17. So now I have more freedom and I can start doing all these things. But I go walking to the beach all the time with my friends. I used to love to cook, but with my kids, I hate cooking now. I hate it. Food is overrated. I'm like, can I just give you a pill? One likes shrimp, one likes pasta, one hates pasta, one likes. And when you have two kids, it's totally different. Yeah. And I'm like, oh God, I dread food. I dread it.
The energy. So, Darlene, we have quite a lot of young creative people that listen to this podcast. So people that are creative and they're trying to figure out where they end up. Are they going to end up, in acting? Are they going to end up film? Are they going to end up as designers? Or, they don't know where. Have you got any tips for, I suppose, people right now who are looking to maybe do what you do? How, if you could give yourself, if you go back to kind of young Darlene and give her some advice, is there anything that you would,
It's funny. I always like to hear stories of how someone gets started. Because you want to say hi, Audrey? How people get started. Because then you hear about like these actors that go, okay, you tell us about your first audition, but how did you get started? You know? And that's the tough thing because it's tough right now because now it's a totally different ball game because you have people that are influencers on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok that are becoming these huge celebrities. And with you're not really showing a lot of talent, but you're showing, that you have the look or the, whatever to be famous. And a lot of people are famous just by being famous. So as far as acting, like a friend of mine asked me if I could help out his son. And I'm like, God, I don't know if I can, but I loved his look. It was very quirky and big red hair and that stuff like that. So I said, get some pictures taken, send them to me, and I will send them to an agent that I think would really like your look. And I did, and they loved him. And I just gave him some tips of how to, audition and the most important things about just hitting your mark and listening and reacting and, acting to some people, they think, oh, it's easy. It's easy. It's not really that easy. I mean, you really have to know how to listen and react and be giving and know to hit your mark. And when you're on, because no one teaches you in acting class how to perform on a set, what to do on a set and the angles and things like that. And, how to, there's things that you learn along the way, but it's a very tough business, especially right now, because so many people in it. And, right now during the pandemic, who knows when we're going to get back to normal of filming. A friend of mine's shooting a film, prepping for a film right now. And like 5 people tested positive. So they got to shut it down. And there's a commercial, a friend of mine was shooting a commercial. Some of the crew got positive. They have to shut it down. So all these things you have to look at of like the insurance behind it and all that now with the pandemic. But before the pandemic, trying to get the agent, trying to get someone to see you. It's very difficult. And there's a lot of talented people out there that never get seen and never, you have that talent, but you just got to keep going for it. You got to be, like I always say, you got to be lucky in life. You just do. And, as far as other things in the whole film business, editing and stuff, you go to school and learn. And or try to intern with someone that that does the business. The best experience is being on set, is working. You're not going to learn that kind of stuff in college, but it's always good to have something to fall back on because I never had anything to fall back on. I was like, wow, what am I, when the years are tight, you have to know that you are always going to have years of making money and making nothing, and it's, you have to really know that you're going into a career that has no security.
Yeah.
So,
That's a challenge, isn't it? And so what does the
such a
future
challenge.
what does the future hold for you then, Darlene? Where next? What next?
I never know what's next. I mean, I never know. I could get a big audition in 6 months from now and be on a show. I mean, that's the beauty of this business.
Yeah.
Even with Pacific Blue, I mean, my agent didn't want me to take that series, and because it was on cable, and on that time, cable wasn't that big as it is now. Because I was doing network pilots and getting them, and just that close. And I said, you know what? I am so tired of auditioning, and this is already 13 on the air. I want to work. I just want to work and be on a set and work and make a steady paycheck, because that's the thing about acting. You're working, then you're unemployed. You're always looking for a job in this business.
Yeah.
Whether you're hair, makeup, crew, whatever, always looking for a job. And but the beauty of that is you're not sitting in an office every single day, all day long, because, then that I knew I could not do. Because when I was modeling and doing showroom modeling, I'd be in their showroom from 9 to 5, trying on clothes, and I go, get me out of here. I knew I could not be in a stagnant job. It's like my cars. I lease them every 2-3 years. I get sick of them. I always like change. And that's the beauty of acting. You always have change. Commercials I love doing, because you shoot 1 day, 2 days, and you're done. Okay, I'm out.
And I think that's a lot of creative brains seem to like that change, don't they? The kind of day-to-day differential. Yeah.
We don't like monotony. We don't like, and that's another thing about it. It's kind of like the security of it, but kind of the fun of it, of not being secure. Like, okay, what's going to happen next? I don't know. Look, Michael J. Fox was selling off every piece of his furniture because he was so broke. He was down to selling the last piece of his couch, and then he got Family Ties.
Wow.
You just don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
you never know.
Your life can change in an instant. And that's the beauty of this business.
Yeah, well, it seems like a great place to stop. So, again, as usual with our guests, I always say it, but I could sit and talk to you for all night. And I just want to thank you again so much for taking the time out of your family life, your work life, to spend the time and chat to us.
Oh, are you kidding? This is more fun than that. So I could sit here all day long.
You need to go and make some meals now. That's no.
No, I already made the meals. Yeah, I'm already good with that. Yeah, I just have another Zoom this afternoon, but that's it. So it's all good. I just got to go walk the dogs and, deal with all my home stuff that I'm doing now. So deal with the dragons too.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go and have my dinner, and I'm going to watch Back to the Future 2 with Finn, and we're going to watch.
I love Finn. It's adorable.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Darlene. And thanks to everyone for listening. If you want to support the podcast, please rate and write us a review to help us get the word out. We publish a new episode on the last Monday of every month, nearly. Sometimes it's a day before, sometimes it's a day after. So make sure you're subscribed. Darlene, thank you so much. And we'll see you all next time.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, everybody.